A very good afternoon to all of you all and a warm welcome to all of you all. I'm Rekha Khan, your host for the webinar. And we have with us today Mr. Harman Puri, expert on crypto and blockchain, joining us. Today, we are going to be talking about the impact of blockchain on supply chain management. On joining, you would notice that you all are in mute. If you have any questions throughout the webinar, please write them on the chat box and we shall get back to your queries. Thank you. From the creator of Odin, MCX and IEX, here is yet another credible and exchange-neutral platform a user can rely on while walking towards the path of crypto and blockchain understanding. Starting from education to knowledge to all the latest news, all covered under one super app, 3.0 wire. From a novice to a professional trader, every market participant can have a slice of information readily available on the touch of their fingers. Let me first walk you through the world's first 3.0 university, 3.0 TV, and 3.0 wire services. We all know that crypto and blockchain ecosystem is emerging at an immense speed, and to keep a track of all the prices, events, and news looks to be difficult. So what if we have a buddy like us, 3.0 wire? Let me now take you through the app briefly. Let's start with the homepage of the app, which covers all the three verticals. Crypto TV, 3.0 University, and 3.0 Wire. Under the 3.0 Wire services, we have rolled out India's first global index of cryptos, IC50. It tracks the performance of the top 15 cryptocurrencies globally based on market capitalization. Crypto enthusiasts and crypto traders can make informed decisions based on IC50. Under the Wirewatch section, we can monitor the best exchange to buy and a best exchange to sell a particular cryptocurrency. In the center of the screen, you can monitor the arbitrage opportunity available between the two exchanges for the same cryptocurrency. There are more than 400 plus cryptocurrencies which are listed in our platform, along with 70 plus crypto exchanges worldwide. Coming to 3.0 TV, it's an exclusive 24/7 mobile IPTV covering everything on crypto and blockchain ecosystem. It's currently available in 4 different languages: English, Hindi, Gujarati, and Marathi. Under the 3.0 University, being the world's first digital university to offer courses on crypto and blockchain, you can find the best courses available on our platform. We've also started virtual trading game. You can participate in the virtual trading game. We have a live contest going. You can participate and win exciting e-vouchers from Tata Click. With this, I would like to introduce our speaker for today, Mr. Harman Puri. He's going to be introducing us to today's topic. Mr. Harman has over 4 years of experience in the blockchain and crypto space. He is a very active member, contributing in a big way in the blockchain space. Harman is a co-founder of Blockting, which is a blockchain marketing company listed as one of the top upcoming blockchain and crypto startups by the India Blockchain Forum. He plays a very important role at Asgard DAO, a community-owned decentralized financial infrastructure where he is an advisor for their upcoming metaverse project, and he is an Ethereum being their Indian ambassador. In the past, he has acted as the Indian ambassador for NEO. He is a part of the area advisory board member for Amity University, one of the biggest university in India. He has acted as DLT expert for InstiMatch Global, which is an award-winning Swiss fintech and blockchain consultant for many companies. Join me in welcoming Mr. Harman. Hi, Harman.
Thank you. Hello, everyone. Glad to be connected with you all. Great. Let's maybe start the session. I do have a presentation in place. I love to share my views on how blockchain is affecting supply chain, the topic of today. And then, as mentioned, that will open the floor for questions and take them, right?
Sure.
Out of all the sectors that there are, like all the domains, like it be IT, like it be healthcare, insurance industry, supply chain, fintech, banking, blockchain inclusion depends on six major factors. So I'll just give a brief on why blockchain is required, so that we understand how exactly it's affecting the supply chain ecosystem. So these are the six main factors that a blockchain technology provides in any domain. So let's say taking a very small example. Let's say simple contract work. If you are a business and you are contracting people and you want to digitalize those contracts, you need these six things to make sure that the system is secured, it's scalable, it's smooth, and it's working in an optimized state. So let's review all the six things. Number one, security and data privacy. If you are doing a simple contract with anyone, you want to make sure that the data inside the contract is completely secured and private. You don't want your competitors to get to that data, and even other employees or other contractors should not have access to that data. Otherwise, it will jeopardize your relationships with them, right? So maintaining data privacy is very difficult. You have to maintain the logs of who is getting data at what time. You have to keep a record of data entries and manage the access accordingly. The number two, going in a clockwise direction, integrity of data. So let's say you are doing a contract, like you are building a good mall, and you are doing a contract with a raw material person, right? So you're getting the raw materials from them. So the major factor here is that sometimes we do things verbally or even on WhatsApp or maybe on a call, right? And in those cases, it's very difficult to maintain the record, what we agreed on, and what's the integrity of data in a sense. Okay. So what was promised and what is something that you agreed on. Same happens with companies every day. I know a lot of employees in my connection that face this on a regular, basis, that they were promised something by the company and they can get that, right? So integrity is kind of like a very big issue in every industry that we know of, right? So it's a cliche, but if you relate it to your childhood when you were promised you'll get a bike in 10th class, that's again an integrity issue of the data. So basically, with blockchain technology, which we'll just explain in a sentence or two later on. So with blockchain, you can put that integrity to work. You can make sure that whatever was promised, whatever has been recorded, it stays there. It's immutable, right? It's not changing. So that's one. Then coming to provenance. So when you have integrity of data, when you are sure that the data is not going to change, it's going to stay what we agreed on, what has been promised, then what you can do is create a record, create a trail. By that, we mean that, let's say in a bank transaction history. So if you apply for a credit card, they check your credit score, right? How do they check your credit score? They see that, okay, these are the loans that you applied to, these are the EMI payments you have done, and accordingly, this is your, characteristic in terms of finances, your finance abilities in a sense, right? And by checking all those records, they can establish your credit score and establish your credibility to get that credit card, right? So provenance is a very key factor when it comes to establishing credibility, and when it comes to maintaining the log of data in a sense that which data is relating to which data previously. Then fourth, smart contracts. So currently, again, taking a process of a contract, if you want to do a contract with someone, there is no automation. You call them up, you ask for their details, then some details are missing, you call them again, you ask for the additional details, they send the details, then you send the contract, then they sign the contract. It's a long process, takes a lot of time. What if it was all automated, right? So smart contracts are nothing but just a piece of code wherein instructions are written that this is how a flow should be happening. This is how a series of transactions or series of events will happen, right? And by defining that flow, smart contracts make sure that the automation of any task can be achieved easily through digital mediums. So in the same sense, where you want to do a contract, now you can just upload in the smart contract that I want to do a contract with this person. And then it's the responsibility of the smart contract to make sure all the details are there. So understand that all these things that we are discussing, they'll be directly linked to how blockchain is affecting supply chain. If you can relate it to a traditional, supply chain model, you'll be able to, understand it more. But we'll discuss that slowly once we get into the supply chain aspect. So basically, smart contracts can help you automate things. Okay. And the next factor, traceability. So, in terms, not in just in terms of a physical asset, but in terms of data as well, traceability is a very key factor. Traceability enables ownership. So let's say I had my bank account number. I gave my bank account number to my CA and only my CA. Then my CA further gave it to his employee. And then 1 year later, I find out that my bank account is leaked, right? So because I have that link, because I have that traceable source that okay, I gave only to my CA and CA gave only to his employee, so I can track who leaked it, right? And because of that traceability, ownership becomes a very key factor in the whole ecosystem. My CA will not, will know that he'll be held responsible, so he'll share very carefully. Then his employee will share very carefully because he'll be held responsible if found out, right? And that fear of finding out that who leaked or who has made the mistake, that becomes a very key factor. Then finally, liquidity. So when it comes to assets, big assets like let's say a ship. Recently we were working on a project where a ship was tokenized. So let's say a big asset like a ship, you cannot buy and sell a ship, right, every day. So it's a very long process. It's a very tedious process. You have to go through contracts. Then they check your nationality as well, and then you can buy the assets, right? So liquidity of assets is a very big problem, and not just big assets, even smaller assets. So let's say right now, if you want to sell your car, it's not that liquid. You can't get money for your car immediately. It will take some time, right? So liquidity is very difficult. So overall, these are the 6 characteristics of blockchain that are naturally there, right? That blockchain technology provides inherently. Like it doesn't have to do anything special to provide these factors. Okay. Now compare it with a traditional supply chain network. So let's assume there is an exporter sitting in Australia and an importer sitting in India. So that exporter is selling kiwis, Australian kiwis, which are very much in demand in India. And he says that, okay, let's make a deal. Okay. In a typical supply chain, what will happen is that the Indian importer will go to his bank, get a letter of credit. The Australian exporter will go to his bank, accept that letter of credit that, okay, payment will be done. They will get insurance and they will ship off the kiwis, right? It will take almost, 2 to 3 weeks for them to get an agreement beforehand. And then once the kiwis are, prepared, they'll share that. Then for sending the kiwis, they'll do a contract with a ship owner. Then ship owner will do a contract with a warehouse person. Warehouse person will do a contract with a trucking company. And in between, the end product that we get is number 1, delayed. Number 2, of a bad quality because everyone is handling it very wrong, right? The goods that are being handled are very, in a very wrong manner. And number 3, they will be priced so high that even the exporter feels that he has been cheated. So if you see in this whole scenario, what happens is, number 1, there are so many actors involved in the whole supply chain ecosystem that it's very difficult to keep track of everything. So there is no traceability, there is no integrity of data. At any point of time, any contractor can even take out kiwis from Australia and then put some other kiwis, low-level kiwis as well, right? It's up to their discretion. No one is keeping track on that. Number 3, there is no automation. It has to be done through a rigorous paperwork every time. Banking process is very slow. The bank loans take almost 2-3 weeks. The rest process is just a headache, right? There is no trail, no audit trail where the data is being kept, who handed over the kiwis to whom and at what time and at what rate, right? So there is no security of data, no privacy. Anyone can connect with the contractors, anyone can connect with the transporter and get to know when this shipping is coming up. And finally, there's no liquidity. Until and unless the kiwis are sold, exporter is not getting the money. No matter what happens in between to the kiwis, exporter is the one facing those consequences, right? That's why farmers are the ones which are suffering the most in terms of getting their payments on time. So blockchain technology naturally becomes the best solution for the situation. If you consider, why has supply chain be void of digitization? In this era where everything is digitized, like you want to order food, you have a digital medium for that. You want to order a cab, you have digital medium, but why not for the supply chain ecosystem, right? And for that, blockchain is becoming the solution. Why? Supply chain is very complex. You cannot implement everything in a supply chain. There are many applications, there are many softwares which streamline the process of letter of credit for the exporter and importer. There are many companies which have created digital transportation companies and managing the transport digitally. But there is no unique single solution which accommodates all. And the reason for that is the lack of features that it requires. And that is where blockchain steps in. So basically, if we just define blockchain in a sense, it's a digital record maintained in a cryptographically secured manner and a chronological order, which is a very simple definition, like plain old definition, which just says that blockchain is just like a dairy. In the dairy, you just log the entries, and then you share the copy of that dairy in your WhatsApp group with 100 people, and everyone has a copy of that diary, and uh, only people with the specific cryptographic key can open that diary. So basically, blockchain enables you to maintain a decentralized record of transactional information. Okay. With that, firstly, I'd like to ask if there are any questions in between. Okay.
We'll get questions in the end, looks like.
Okay, sure. So moving to the next part, this is the whole motive of blockchain in terms of revolutionizing the supply chain ecosystem. So I'll share a original case study with you. Recently, I was working with Authentium, which is an Algorand funded supply chain project working on blockchain. So I'll share something with you. Yeah. So this is a very classic example of how Algorand is, utilizing blockchain technology for improving the supply chain ecosystem. What they are doing, number one, they are using liquidity for the right purpose. So, for example, right now, if a farmer wants to raise funds to grow a exotic crop, they will not get it. Right? If a farmer says that I don't want to grow rice anymore, I want to grow maybe a special kind of potato, which is going to be accepted by a company like Lay's, right? And they require that. And he needs some inputs, he needs equipments, he needs better technology, he needs guidance. No one is there to provide that. That's one thing. But overall, the main factor of supply chain that we are here to discuss is how does the circle of money works. How is money coming from one place going to another place without any interruptions, and the access to liquidity is better. Not just liquidity, but even access to that, right? So what Authentium did was, yeah. So for example, if you see this, farm finance, with a simple app, you directly provide farm finance to the farmers. Why? You can do a digital contract using smart contracts. So a digital contract with a farmer eradicates the need for extensive paperwork or in-person meets with all the farmers in the world. A farmer can just directly download an application and do a contract there. Okay. Then the farmer can upload the crop quality control and auditing and certification that, okay, this is the crop quality that he is producing, which will go on the blockchain and will be seen by everyone that, okay, this crop has this particular quality. So, this question has been raised a lot in the past. If you are buying a coffee from Starbucks, like, are you sure it's a coffee, not Nestle coffee? Is it not Nescafe or some other brand? Which type of coffee is it? Is it actually Starbucks coffee, which is grown in Africa, that they claim? How can you know about that, right? So the traceability factor is missing. As soon as the traceability factor is there, farmers get the best, amount, and the whole supply chain ecosystem becomes much more efficient. Same way, let's say there is something specific that I would like to showcase. Yeah. So, for example, with this is just one example, right? There are multiple supply chain products out there which are providing a lot to the farmers and to the overall supply chain and how they are using blockchain. But I'm just taking an example how this particular project is using supply chain. So they are reducing bank lending risk to farmers, increasing customer base, providing more exposure to the farmers, providing more exposure to the people, to us as a consumer as well, that we have a choice in terms of quality. We know that which crop is coming from where and we can get the right crop. So that's the main objective of a supply chain as well. Then improve agriculture borrower repayments, streamlining ARP, APX, bank lending processes, and implementing innovative banking solutions. So that's just one thing, right? If you search for other softwares, let's say, yeah. So for example, there is this network Marco Polo, which uses blockchain for a supply chain transaction and payments only. So specifically for supply chain based transaction and payments, blockchain technology is being used to streamline the whole ecosystem, right? Payments is the biggest barrier in supply chains. If you are exporting or importing stuff, you cannot do that without being assured of the payments. And anytime you involve a third party or let's say an escrow account, it charges you a very heavy amount and there is always a risk of currency devaluation, right? So you are dealing in foreign currency, so you always lose something, right? So if I am buying something in dollars today and tomorrow dollar is 82, I have to pay according to 82 per rupee. I cannot pay at 78, which I transacted at, right? So what happens with what happens in Marco Polo is they use blockchain supply chain to automate these transactions through smart contracts. So you deposit your money in smart contracts automatically whenever the produce is ready. When you receive it, you borrow that, and the payment is done automatically through the smart contract. Right? So that's one part. So overall, this is the whole ecosystem, right? So with that, I would like to conclude it. So this slide, it just contains all the details on all the things that we discussed earlier, keeping it very short so that there is enough time for questions and we can get into more details according to the requirements.
Thank you so much, Isaac. I have got a few questions which have come in. So I would request more questions to be raised in case you all have any queries, because we have good time with Harman where we can bombard him with a lot of questions. So the first question is, how can blockchain solutions be implemented in companies?
Okay, so there are different aspects to that. Let's say you want to okay, for example, number one, payroll. If you want to automate payments to employees, and rather than calculating everything on your own and doing depending on banks, if there is a Saturday, Sunday, you cannot do the payments, go to the banks directly. You can automate them through blockchain, and obviously it improves the accessibility to people as well, right? So that's one part. But blockchain overall can be used wherever there's a need for data privacy as well. For example, employee contracts. Doing a contract with an employee requires a lot of to and fro in terms of getting the certificates, then finalizing the terms, and usually it happens over call, right? If we want to finalize a new employee, we ask for their expectations, share the expectation, then share the dates of joining, then the roles and responsibilities. So rather than going to and fro in a traditional manner on calls, blockchain can be applied easily in recruitment. There are many softwares that are currently helping recruitment through blockchain. There is payroll software as well for blockchain, like blockchain-based payroll software as well. Look at this from a global perspective. When we say payroll for blockchain, it doesn't mean that an Indian company is paying its Indian employees. That would be ridiculous. It's being done with banks. It's easy enough. But what if you're employed by an American company? Bank transfers from America take a lot of time. They charge a lot. And again, the currency devaluation is there, right? So if you implement a blockchain-based payroll system from a US bank, let's say, right, from a US client, you can get payments directly on time and at the right valuation, right? Same way for hiring. If a US client wants to hire an Indian employee, they don't need to go through all the papers of Indian ecosystem. They can do that directly on blockchain by pulling the certificate on blockchain, right? Similarly, doing contracts with the clients as well is required. There are some softwares based for blockchain contracts. How contracts can be done? That's verify me once. There is CCERT, different softwares available which use blockchain to build up contracts, right? Then uh, yeah, that's some of the few case studies that come on the top of my head, but there are many cases. So basically every situation in a company where you think, okay, this can be automated, this can be simplified, this can be streamlined, blockchain is there.
Got it. Now, do you think that blockchain technology influence companies' ways of information sharing and resulting in trust issues?
I'm sorry, blockchain.
How can blockchain technology influence companies' way of information sharing, and will it result in a trust issue?
The opposite of that, it will not result in a trust issue, but basically enabling trust, provided that companies understand blockchain properly. So, let's say previously how you used to share data. I ask you that I need this particular, data sheet for a product that you have built, and you say, okay, I'll share it on mail, and you'll write down that sign an NDA. Only then I'll share, and then you'll say that do not share this mail with anyone. But I'm sitting on my computer, and anyone is looking at my computer. You cannot control that, right? Blockchain can even go to that level where even when you open, you have to record the number of times you have opened, the number of like time and place when you opened, at which place you opened, right, and how much you read. So each and every data in blockchain can be trailed back to or tracked back to when it was read, when it was opened, who used it, who accessed it. So that access record is a very key component. Now even in a traditional ecosystem you can try and maintain an access record, but what blockchain provides is a very impeccable, very you'll say uh, secure way of implementing those things, a very unique way. So there is no way to change the record on blockchain. If you have accessed a document 10 times, the blockchain will reflect 10 times. You cannot change that. Other softwares you can still change. So there's no possibility of hack there. That's one part. And that's why sharing of information can be done easily through blockchain. All you have to do is validate the public address of the other person. So just as you have a bank account number and a password for your bank app, you have a public key and private key in blockchain. The public key is your address that represents you on the blockchain, and the private key is your password that you use to access your network on blockchain. So as soon as someone enables the public key, you can view the information that they have allowed you to see.
Got it. Thank you. So the next one up is if there is a complicated supply chain structure, does blockchain enhance it and make it less complicated, or when blockchain comes into action, does it get more complicated, or is it?
So it's like it's a mix of both. Initially, implementing blockchain is complex for many people, right? The end goal is very straightforward. We know that once blockchain is implemented, it will streamline everything, automate everything, right? So, but before that, to get to that point, the kind of work that you have to do is complex. You have to firstly select the blockchain that you want to use, right? There are different options in the market, so you have to choose that. Then you have to get the right resources, which is very difficult to find right now in the market. You cannot find right people to develop your product. Then you have to plan it, what exactly should go in that product, and UI UX also, integrations, backend, smart contracts, everything has to be developed, right? And after so much of effort, you streamline one process, right? So it depends upon how you see it. What I like to say is that blockchain is not it's not necessary to have blockchain everywhere. Like it's not a solution to global warming, so to say, right? So wherever it is required, wherever it will improve a lot, you should implement it there. Otherwise, it becomes more of a menace than a a solution.
Thank you. What are the key attributes of blockchain technology applicable to a supply chain management?
Okay. So the key attributes that we discussed in the presentation just now, the 6 key attributes, liquidity, uh, traceability, smart contracts, uh, provenance, all of those 6 factors, they are the key factors that a blockchain provides naturally, and they are the best solution.
Cool. I think this presentation will also be available on YouTube. So people who have questions can always go through the same thing, because I think Arman has already mentioned these things in detail in the presentation that he just showed us. The next question that we have is, I think this is the last question. I haven't got anything beyond this. How does a blockchain technology enable the supply chain integration and collaboration?
Okay. So, supply chain integration and collaboration. So, see, as we mentioned before, the supply chain is a very complex network, and not just a farming supply chain. Think of a medical supply chain as well. A medicine that you take, its ingredients come from somewhere. It's built. It's packed by someone else, then it's marked by someone else, then stored by someone else, and sold by someone else, right? So it's a very complex ecosystem. So every supply chain requires a lot of actors involved in it. At least 7 to 8 actors at the very minimum, right? Warehouse guys, transportation guys, packaging, delivery, everything. So uh, one thing that has restricted the global supply chains to explore their true potential is that they are not tightly integrated. If for example, in this Authentium only, right, just another example. So what Authentium is doing, creating groups. What are these groups? That one exporter can collaborate with a transporter, with a seller, with a importer, and with a warehouse guy. So they can form a group that every time that they want to do a transaction, every time they want to send something from this part of the world to that part of the world, they can follow the same stream. How they can do that? Through blockchain, by having that trust factor that blockchain brings in the picture, right? So they will trust smart contracts to make the transactions on their behalf. They will make sure that, okay, this is going from this place to the next place, and we know that, okay, this person has the goods right now and he has to deliver the goods at this time, and the whole ecosystem. So basically, this tight integration, which was missing from the supply chain ecosystem before, can be achieved through blockchain.
Got it. Cool. Sandeep, yes, we will have this the recording of this session uploaded in our real 3.0 TV YouTube channel. We will not be able to mail it across to you, but yes, it will be available there, and it will also be available in our website in our webinar section. But that'll take a week's time or so. Is there any more questions that we can take? Do we have any questions? Cool. I think that was the last question that we had, Arman.
Okay, amazing. So great interacting.
Would you want to sum up this whole thing and just give your one piece of advice to people on the session?
Absolutely. So see, guys, if we had to get into blockchain and discuss, what blockchain is, how it impacts at a very, 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 small level, like how exactly blockchain is being used in this, that would take hours. Right? We can get into the technology, we can understand how it works, how exactly the letter of credit can be issued on blockchain, how exactly the traceability works in blockchain, or how exactly we can maintain goods and their transportation on blockchain. But the main point is that we don't need to understand that. We need to understand that why blockchain is required in the supply chain ecosystem. Firstly, it's the why. When you are understanding the why, the how and what, they are, they come naturally later on. Right. So concentrate on the why. understand that blockchain is a very revolutionary technology. It's enabling a lot. These NFTs, metaverse are just the tip of the iceberg that you see every day because they come to the news, but there are much more going on behind the scene which they implement, right? So try to understand how blockchain is being used in this industry. Supply chain, obviously, our whole lives depend on it. Everything that we have, even the packaged water we have, it's supply chain, right? If you go to a place you feel sick, your family says that buy packaged water. That's supply chain. If you don't have that, you are sick there, right? So it's good to know how this industry is shaping up. Many new companies are coming up with very innovative solutions, and supply chain is being revolutionized. So it's good to see how it's transforming, and it will be quite interesting for you all to understand how blockchain can implement all this.
Thank you. Harman, there is one question which has just come in. How does blockchain technology enhance the product traceability?
So as I mentioned, blockchain is a ledger system. So product traceability basically refers to not actual physical traceability, which is done by IoT devices. You can't see where the product is right now. It's in which latitude and longitude, but product traceability in a sense of ownership. Who has the product? So let's say product goes from a seller, exporter, to a transport person, from transport person to warehouse, from warehouse to the seller. Just a normal scenario, small scenario. Okay. So in between, the product was destroyed, right? The product got destroyed in a sense. Now, because no one knew when the product was destroyed and everyone just kept passing on, the seller or the buyer have to pay, right? These actors in between, they don't have the ownership. So that's where traceability comes in. That every time someone is holding that product and then passing on to the next person, they have to upload on blockchain, and blockchain can not upload without confirming from the other person. So in the end, let's say when the warehouse guy hands over the product to the seller refuses to pick the product if it's in a bad condition, right? So warehouse guy has to pay. So because of that responsibility and ownership, the warehouse guy will check extensively before taking the product from the transport guy. If the product is not right, the transport guy will have to pay. Right? And a similar way, transport guy has to make sure that product is received in a good quality from the buyer, from the seller. Right? Otherwise, the seller has to pay. So this is how the traceability works.
There's one more question. How does blockchain technology bring tradability to the supply chain?
That's quite simple to answer. See, digitization means that you have a new digital medium to connect people, right? So supply chain didn't have any digitization before. That was the main cause of it, that we were heavily dependent on retail sellers to provide us those details. Now that blockchain has all the digital medium, it can connect us directly with the seller. So buyer and seller both can see each other, right? In a literal sense. Like just an example again, when you go to Starbucks, now if you can see, okay, this particular coffee bean bag that was sent actually by a farmer in Africa, you'll buy that. So that credibility is improved a lot. Similarly, implement it on a level that, let's say, trucking companies are interacting with the sellers. So the sellers can finalize, okay, this trucking company has a good record. I will trade with them. I will give my product to them to carry. Right? That's the whole thing.
Thank you. I hope all the queries that we had are clear. I don't think any more questions coming in with. So I think that was the last question for today. Thank you, Harman, for this interesting session. I would like to thank all the audience for being so active in this session. Thank you so much, Harman. We look forward to more sessions with you. Thank you so much. I would also request all the people who have attended today to please participate in our virtual trading game, which we are going to have. There is one more contest which is going live tomorrow. So would appreciate if you all download the CryptoWire app and start playing in the virtual trading game, so it helps you enhance your trading skills. Thank you so much, Harman. It was great interacting with you. Have a nice day.
My pleasure. Thank you, everyone.